So here we are. All day long, we say the word I. Every day, for decades, we've been saying I. Me, mine. I want this. This is my car, my relationship, my financial situation, my rather scary financial situation. All but day long, continuously we've been saying I, me, mine. When we sit together like this and notice that the sounds are being heard, whether we like it or not, heard by that which we call me, and the thoughts can be noticed as thoughts by that which we call me. And when our eyes are open, the movement of objects in the room is being seen by that which we call me. You allow the attention to shift from these shifting, changing experiences to what we call me. What is discovered? What do you bump into when the attention shifts from the experiences to the me? Excellent. Now see if you could just put that into words.
Maybe a depersonalization, you're more of an observer as opposed to being so attached to the situation.
Okay, so as soon as you pay attention to the me, it becomes less defined, is that right? It becomes less of a person and more of an awareness. Beautiful, an awareness. What is it? When you tune into awareness, what is it? What's it like? What color is it?
Expensive.
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 You've been, yeah, it depends which seminars you take. It can get expensive. It's expansive. Okay, expansive. How expansive? How far did you go before you got to the edge? You never got to the edge. I see. Never got to the edge. How far did you travel before you turned back?
Just this room.
I see. Let's check it out and see. We seem to be heading in the direction of recognizing that who you really are is awareness. And how big is awareness? When you really, without concept, without thinking about it, which of course will immediately put limits, but without thinking about it, just relaxing into it, how big does the awareness which you are seem to be? Infinite. Who would go for infinite? Okay, excellent. Boy, there's a lot of infinities crammed into one small room. Yes, infinite awareness. Beautiful. Infinite awareness. I asked you a few minutes ago to notice the sound of this voice, the sound in the environment. This awareness is what hears the sounds. Is that true? The awareness sees the objects moving, it also hears the sounds. Now, the awareness is seeing finite objects, but we discover that the awareness itself is infinite. The awareness is hearing sounds which have a pitch, a volume. But what sound does the awareness itself make? No. It is silent. Who you are is infinite and silent. Now just intuitively, you're not going to be able to answer this question logically, but just if you just answered quickly from intuition, when was it born? It's always existed. Okay, who'd go for that? When you tune into awareness without thinking, it doesn't really have a birth date. Could it be destroyed? No. Even if the body died, could it be destroyed? No. Okay. So, dear friends, we may take this for granted, what we have just recognized here together. By now, we are in the midst, and I'd be glad to substantiate this rather perhaps outlandish statement, but we are in the midst of a revolution in consciousness. It's happening now. The death, the inevitable collapse and death of old structures that were created from a consciousness based in separation, we are witnessing. Buy the newspaper, switch on the television, the old structures are collapsing. And the fact that we were able to come to these conclusions within the first few minutes of a meeting is perhaps not absolute, but certainly a clue that something is afoot under the radar in collective consciousness. I'm going to substantiate this a lot more as we go on. We're not going to let this be our only clue. But let's not take this for granted, you see. What you have spoken tonight, your capacity to shift the attention back to yourself and to recognize that where you might have assumed there would be an entity, a thing called me, there's actually infinite awareness, which is silent, which was never born, which could never die. This realization is essentially not different than what Buddha realized under the Bodhi tree. Not different. It's not different than what Jesus, the Master Jesus, recognized in his realization that I and the Father are one. It's not different from the writings of Lao Tzu or St. John of the Cross or St. Thomas Aquinas or Meister Eckhart. The difference is that historically, very few people historically have had this kind of realization. And if they did, the dominant collective consciousness was dense enough that in order to sustain that realization, it was necessary to withdraw from the world. Mostly to be a monk or a nun, reclusive, away from the world. And then there was some possibility of sustaining that opening. About almost 20 years ago now, I was very obsessed with the idea of enlightenment. It's embarrassing to share that now. It's rather like going to a 12-step meeting. My name is Arjuna. I'm a recovering seeker. I've been in recovery now for about 20 years. I haven't had a seeking thought. About 20 years ago, I was very much obsessed with the idea of wanting to become enlightened. To be honest with you, looking back, I really didn't... Oh, is that mine? No, I think I've got one. Or maybe I don't. No, I've got one. No, I've got this. Thank you. Okay. I didn't really know what this word enlightenment meant. In fact, since then I've done quite a bit of research. I found most people who use that word don't really seem to know what it means. But it seems to be a convenient way of deciding that there's something about the way that I am right now which doesn't feel okay, and I've got some vague sense that things could be way better than this. And it usually gets wrapped up with the sense of having no negative thoughts or feelings or whatever. Not getting angry. So I bumped into a very wonderful, what can I call him? Really the best way would be to describe the man that I bumped into would be to say I bumped into the ultimate good friend. You might want to refer to this kind of person as a teacher, or people sometimes use the word guru or something, but really he was the kind of friend that you would really want a friend to be. He was the kind of friend, you know, who instead of trying to enroll you in something, ask you the right questions.